What's good, world? What's good, world? What's good, world? I might be back with another reaction video. What's good, world? Reaction video. Let me grab my hat off the floor. What's good, world? I might be back with another reaction video. I might be back with another reaction video. What's good, world? I might be back with another reaction video. Appreciate you tuning in. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. If you ain't new, make sure you get somebody else to subscribe so we get the channel popping. And I don't gotta pull up and pop you. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Now let's just jump straight into it. What's good, world? You see the intro. Appreciate y'all. You already know. If you're new here, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't heard, there was a streamer that did a live stream. I think if we're talking about the same one, it was he did 30 days or something like that of torture, and he ended up dying on live stream. Infographics did a little show, little clip to it, so I'm gonna do a little reaction. Appreciate y'all. Let's get straight into it. Hopefully we can do this with no interruptions.
The darkest chapters in recent internet history. A popular live streamer, already broken both physically and mentally, was humiliated in front of thousands of viewers. The stunt was meant to drive views, to get people talking. But no one could have predicted the horrifying outcome that followed. On today's episode...
That's one thing about this shit that I'll just never do, is like, I'm not going here for clout and I'm doing all these crazy things to get views. Like, some people do that stuff and leave themselves right where they shouldn't be.
Episode of the Infographics Show.
Excuse me.
We're looking at the murky world of live streaming and the death that shocked the internet. These days, it's not about what you do, it's about who you are. We live in a world of celebrity influencers, and those who get enough of a following can command millions of dollars just by putting out a video. Mr. Beast, arguably the most famous influencer in the world, has turned over-the-top stunts into a full-blown media empire. What started as YouTube challenges has grown into reality shows, burger chains, and even chocolate bars. And he's not alone. His friend Ryan Trahan recently raised more than $11 million for charity by racing through all 50 states in just 50 days, while letting his audience decide how to make the journey harder. But for those lower on the influencer totem pole, it takes a lot to get...
Stuff like that is cool. That's why the things that Mr. Beast does in order to help people or make them struggle a little bit in order to earn the money is kind of cool. But some of the things people do are just outrageous.
Most influencers don't have the resources to do massive road trips, but they don't need to in order to get a following. Some of the most popular figures on YouTube, Twitch, and other platforms are live streamers, people who play video games for a living. But it's an oversaturated market, so standing out is everything. The biggest streamers aren't just gamers anymore. They are media personalities, cultural icons, and sometimes even political voices, with the games themselves coming second.
Get different channel lineups for every TV lover in your house.
I know, right? People are becoming political.
And some streamers will go to extreme measures to get a following.
Political leaders and shit just starting off the internet.
They've decided that for fame, dignity is out the window. Streamers often let fans influence their lives in exchange for donations. Sometimes it's lighthearted, like viewers paying to see a streamer forced into ridiculous costumes, but others push the limits of human endurance, streaming for days on end in order to keep their momentum going. And the fans don't always have their best interests at heart. One of the most disturbing trends in streaming has been trash streams, extended broadcasts that involve the creator debasing themselves live in an attempt to keep viewership up. As viewers donate, creators may...
That's also another bad thing that's happened with streaming, is the hate. The hate on the streams is getting so bad. It's like people just get on there to say the most negative shit. They don't even get on there to just watch the stream anymore. And if they don't start watching that, it's gonna get out of hand. Like, especially with big streamers and them allowing certain other amount of their followers to do certain things like that, it's creating a lot of hate and a lot of fan bases that go to school and then they do this to other kids and stuff and they think it's cool, until, you know, other kids overreact or go out of their way because they don't know how to handle themselves emotionally, and then, you know, you hear sirens. Let's wait for this to pass by.
Abuse themselves, allow others to abuse them, or in more disturbing cases, inflict abuse on a willing participant. While some of these stunts remain relatively harmless, like chugging down foul concoctions, others have escalated into outright violence. These are generally associated with what's known as the lower internet, the underground websites that have little to no content regulation. These are highly popular in Russia, where some of the worst crimes by streamers have been committed. But the trend was mostly underground, until now. Could things really go so far that someone would die? No one thought it was possible until Raphael Gravon came along.
Raphael Gravon.
The Frenchman, better known as Jean Pormanove, began
How the fuck do we have 3 names,
his
bro?
streaming career much later than most. In March 2020, at the age of 41, he launched an account on the then rising platform TikTok, just as the COVID-19 pandemic was taking hold. His larger-than-life personality and energetic streams quickly earned him a devoted fan base, but there was a dark side to his fame. He would soon move to the platform Twitch, where he gained 669,000 followers and over 35 million views. But as his fame grew, so did the cracks in his persona. His darker side began to surface, with sudden outbursts of rage erupting during gaming streams. He became...
So what I'm saying is you start here, and as your followers comment and they drive you,
known for his extreme live challenges,
where
he would deprive himself of sleep and play for days at a time. These streams catapulted him to a new level of fame, and with it came the growing temptation to push himself into ever more extreme stunts. While his fans enjoyed the content, they were also starting to get worried. Pormanove soon hooked up with other trash streamers who would take part in his streams. If Pormanove was a masochist, these guys were sadists, and they were more than willing to deal out the punishments. It was around this time that Pormanove left Twitch, the world's biggest game streaming platform, for the lesser-known Kick. The site offered streamers better payouts and looser rules, giving extreme content creators far more freedom to push the limits. But the human body can...
Yeah, I like Kick too. Twitch is honestly like, I don't know. Twitch is already like, I feel like taking over.
Can only be pushed so far. As Pormanove's time on Kick began, people started to notice something different, something disturbing. His extended streams were taking their toll on the man. He was starting to age unusually fast. He was already much older than the average streamer, and he looked it, especially as he lost weight. His behavior grew increasingly erratic. Once a familiar face at a major event like Paris Games Week, he now devoted himself almost entirely to his extreme trash streams, and people wondered if it was time for the authorities to get involved. But was it already
The fact that they call them trash streams is crazy.
too late? In December 2024, an investigation by French magazine Mediapart exposed details of what was labeled as an abuse business. Professional streamers would team up with vulnerable people who agreed to be abused in exchange for money. This usually involved homeless people who would agree to be hit or humiliated for a quick cash bonus. A modern-day version of the twisted bum fights game from the early 2000s. But Pormanove was unique in that he was the abused figure.
It's like when they make them eat the hot chips and shit, and then they don't even give them water.
Later,
That's
the
just
Nice
fucked
prosecutor's
up.
department began its own investigation into 2 streamers who had appeared on Pormanove's streams, Owen Naruto Sanazandori and Safin Hamadi. The 2 men were also known for their extreme content, and they were more than willing to help Pormanove debase himself to boost his streams.
I'm gonna be real. I've never heard of none of these people. Like, this is my first time even hearing this, and the only reason I even heard of him is because he died
The
on stream.
investigation scrutinized much of their content, not just Pormanove's streams, but no charges were filed at first, as authorities continued to dig deeper. But by then, Pormanove was already too far down the path of self-destruction. As he became more and more desperate for views, he started pushing the limits of human endurance. Many of his streams saw him locked away for days without sleep, forced to play games while being relentlessly abused, and deprived of basic needs. His so-called assistants, fellow streamers, were often the ones carrying out the abuse. It left many viewers with the disturbing impression that Pormanove was less a star and more a prisoner.
Like a puppet, and that's what it becomes once money
And
gets
eventually he
involved.
would be pushed too far. While Pormanove typically played games during his streams, they had become secondary to the extreme violent and humiliating content he was now known for. In early August, he began an indefinite live stream on Kick. The stream dragged on for more than 12 days, with Pormanove's content growing increasingly disturbing and abusive as time passed. Yet, for most viewers, it was just business as usual from the eccentric Frenchman. Until it...
So it seems like it. So that's what it is. It started off as a guy blowing up, and he got a partnership with 2 people, and then these 2 people became his fucking management type, and then they started pushing him to the limits, and to the point it became torture.
Wasn't.
Crazy.
The master of ceremonies for this extreme broadcast was Naruto, Owen Sanazandori, who was known for abusing Pormanove before. And as the days went on, Pormanove started to look less like a streamer and more like a torture victim. A week into the stream, he became increasingly exhausted, haggard, and desperate for sleep and water. People in the comments went from cheering to questioning whether this was safe. But Naruto didn't stop. He doubled down.
What the fuck was this dude's name again? I'm gonna look him up. What's his name again? Raphael. Where was before I forget? I want to know what he looked like when he started streaming. I want to see what he looked like before he even started streaming. Did he already look like that? Because he already kind of looks like a skinny guy, you know? Why does this dude look exactly like him? Just more well-nourished. Alright, let me go, his cheeks definitely started changing. Alright. That's still crazy. That's insane. You gotta watch who you bring around you.
Streamer and more like a torture victim. A week into the stream, he became increasingly exhausted, haggard, and desperate for sleep and water. People in the comments went from cheering to questioning whether this was safe. But Naruto didn't stop. He doubled down. Most of the stream showed Pormanove sitting before the camera as he was attacked and humiliated. Sanazandori, joined by frequent collaborator Safin, knew exactly how to exploit his greatest weakness.
I want to know like what they mean by attacked. Like, he's on live stream, so what could they be possibly doing on live stream that he's getting attacked?
Cigarette addiction. The withdrawal put his body under immense strain, and they used that to push him further, tempting him with the promises of a cigarette that they didn't always deliver. It seemed like they were looking just to see how much he could endure. The first extreme element of the challenge was sleep deprivation. Go without rest for too long, and it can be deadly. The longest verified case belongs to Robert McDonald, who managed to stay awake for more than 18 days back in 1986. He survived without lasting damage, but the Guinness Book of World Records has since stopped recognizing the record, citing...
You can't even, like, it's really not even possible to be up past 15 days, and you could literally just kill yourself.
...the severe dangers of anyone attempting to break it. Pormanove didn't go entirely without sleep during those first 12 days. He would sometimes curl up on the floor and try to rest, but each time he did, his tormentors made sure to jolt him awake abruptly and cruelly, and each wake-up call would bring new horrors. While Pormanove was ostensibly a willing participant at the start of the stream, that quickly changed. When he attempted to leave, he was threatened and intimidated. He asked to call the emergency services for medical help, but was denied access to a phone and mocked for his cowardice. The overseers of the challenge seemed to take joy in targeting him with every possible psychological weak point.
Damn, like, it comes from a point where this is fun to where it's like, bro, I'm dying, bro.
His age, his appearance, his lack of dignity, and the possibility that he was gay. And where the psychological abuse left off, the physical abuse started. One of the most common assaults on Pormanove during this violent stream was repeated slaps in the face, particularly by Safin and a third streamer known as 3 Shavu. His hair was yanked back without warning, and any attempt to sleep was met with punishment, beatings while he lay on the floor, sucked glasses of water, or woken up with deafening noises.
New users can now get NFL Sunday Ticket for 8 payments of only $34.50 per month.
As the stream went on, the
That's why I do the cartoon versions, because if we did the real ones, it would be way more gruesome.
abuse escalated. They began ambushing him from behind to startle him, while inventing increasingly cruel methods of torment, strapping an electric dog collar around his neck and shocking him, suffocating him with a plastic bag, even detonating a homemade cigarette bomb that exploded in his face. But there was one other element to the torture that was the most disturbing. There was another participant in the stream, a man named Kudu. This disabled man, who was under guardianship, had seemingly fallen into the hands of the sadistic streamers. They forced Pormanove to turn his abuse onto someone even more vulnerable, ordering him to strike the man before directing Kudu.
Then they treated them like circus animals and shit, like got them fucking doing
Kudu hit
acts.
Pormanove back in return. It was a deeply disturbing spectacle, and it only worsened when Pormanove was ordered to brush the disabled man's teeth with a toothbrush soaked in urine. This was just one of the
It's not even funny. This is just
many
sick.
humiliations they devised for him, alongside scrubbing filthy toilets, being forced to crawl and act like a dog, and being paraded in degrading costumes. At various points in the stream, Pormanove was
Things people do for money is disgusting. I don't know what it is, why, how do you even end up in a point like this, but
paraded outside of the compound, sometimes in a wig and women's clothing, other times dressed as a baby in a diaper, a bib, and a pacifier. He would be marched through the streets for public ridicule, often wearing obscene, degrading signs as strangers jeered. At other times, he was beaten, mocked, doused in paint and oil, and even shot with a paintball gun. And through
that's like when you're saying, like, you're not getting laughed with, you're getting laughed at. Like, you're not getting watched. You're just getting viewed. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between a watch and a just being viewed.
Through it all, the torment continued unchecked. He was a famous content creator, after all. Surely he must have agreed to it. Meanwhile, the views and donations kept climbing higher. But slowly people started to realize something was very wrong. Pormanove started experiencing breathing difficulties near the end of the stream and appeared more and more haggard. Donations continued to pour in, fueling the abuse, but an increasing number of viewers began voicing concern, warning that this wasn't funny anymore, and that Pormanove might actually be in serious danger. Eventually, one of the donors pointed out that Pormanove hadn't moved in a while. Sanazandori, the ringmaster of this sadistic spectacle, went to check in on his once willing captive in his usual fashion by hurling a water bottle at him to jolt him awake. Pormanove didn't move, and the captors realized something was very wrong. The stream was shut down immediately, and a few hours later, Naruto appeared on his own streams and social media networks to confirm that Pormanove had died. In one last twisted coda, the streamer paid tribute to the man he claimed was a friend, expressing sorrow at his death. But around the world, people reacted
Oh, now he's your boy, huh?
with shock. They realized that they had been willingly participating in a man's abuse and degradation for almost 2 weeks, and now he was dead. And then the calls for justice began. At first, Pormanove's extreme content and fragile
And then when people watch you, it can be too late.
health had led many to assume his death was a tragic accident. But in the aftermath, several key pieces of evidence began to surface, painting a far darker and more deliberate picture. The first was a message that Pormanove had sent to his mother a short time before his death. In it, he referred to Naruto's setup as a death game, and that he felt like he had been kidnapped. More disturbingly, he claimed that he was locked inside and denied permission to leave, and the other streamers knew what they were doing. There was so much content on the stream during those 12 days that not all of it caught people's attention at first. But as the horrors that led to Pormanove's death became clearer, a clip of Sanazandori's commentary started getting attention. In it, he said, "Let him say on camera right now that if he dies tomorrow in the middle of a live show, it's due to his state of health and not to us." Pormanove resisted but was bullied into going through with it live on the air, warning that the audience would turn on them if he died. It was the first clear sign that they knew his health was already in serious danger.
That's when they knew, and they just kept on going.
Find buzzer beaters and cliffhangers in one place.
And the people started asking, was this a stunt gone wrong, or was it murder? It wouldn't be long before a backlash started. French youth minister Sadra El Airi condemned the platforms for enabling and profiting from violent content, warning that their negligence could drive young people to imitate these deadly stunts. Pormanove's funeral costs were ultimately covered by an unlikely duo, streamer Aiden Ross, famous for his high-profile collaborations, and the controversial Canadian rapper Drake.
What the fuck? Aiden Ross and Drake?
In the aftermath, an outpouring of support emerged for the ill-fated streamer, and soon the hammer would come down on his tormentors. Kick took an enormous amount of heat in the initial aftermath of the tragedy. Suddenly, a platform that let streamers do whatever they wanted live didn't seem like such a good idea. Under the pressure, they announced that they had banned all the streamers that took part in the extreme live stream and would be cooperating with legal investigations. But others said that this didn't go far enough, calling for a complete reform in how the company did business, and everyone waited with bated breath for the indictments to come down. 4 days after Pormanove's death, the results of the autopsy were made public, and shockingly,
You
authorities
guys can't blame Kick for what people decide to do for money, bro. It's just like how YouTube was,
These
bro.
found-
If you guys start doing this regulation shit, then Kick's not gonna be as free as it is.
no evidence of trauma or foul play leading to his death. While there were certainly signs of abuse, including plenty of surface-level wounds, none of them were direct causes of death. As such, there were no grounds to charge any of the fellow streamers with murder. While the cause of death was not made fully public, The autopsy indicated that they believed the likely cause of death was pre-existing medical conditions or substance abuse. But across the world, countless people knew what they had seen live on air. From the start of his streaming career, Pormanove was never a healthy man, either physically or mentally. His conduct was extremely...
Yeah, I was looking at his pictures. He didn't look like he was ever...
And he often acted in disturbed ways, with a wildly unpredictable personality that could manifest in obscenities live on stream. Though he was never formally diagnosed with a disorder, many observers noted that Pormanove displayed signs of mental illness. He was likely targeted because his unusual behavior set him apart in the streaming world. That same troubled mind also made him an easy mark for street-smart, amoral streamers who saw him as a tool for content and profit. But was there anything to be learned?
That's all he was.
From this tragedy? The investigation into streamers, which began before Pormanove's marathon stream and eventual death, is continuing, with the days of live streams likely being key evidence. While Pormanove's death may have never been directly pinned on the men
and they save all of them, so he's definitely going to get...
They still face a raft of potential charges, many tied to the horrific treatment of the mentally disabled man who was forced to take part in the stream. The fiasco has also shown a light on the brutal nature of some of these extreme streams. And around the world, people are calling for action. Sometimes it takes a death for people to realize just how bad a situation is. And that's exactly what happened here. Pormanove's case was an extreme situation, but it opened people's eyes to the fact that the trash streaming phenomenon preys on the vulnerable. Not only are many of the streamers themselves mentally ill, desperate people who are willing to be abused in exchange for user donations, but many of the viewers display unhealthy behaviors as well. After all, what could go wrong with monetized sadism? Russia.
Everything can literally go wrong with this. I'm gonna end it here because obviously I didn't do this to bash live streaming. I did this to find out as much as I can about this guy that passed away on live stream. RIP to him. I can't remember his damn name. It's weird to say if it was torture or not because he was literally letting it happen until it wasn't fun anymore. It's just like the Diddy situation. It's all fun until it's not fun anymore. And then who's really to blame? Appreciate y'all. Y'all let me know what you think about this situation. This situation is actually really crazy. I'm out of here.